Good morning, supervisors, staff, and guests. Would you please do roll call? Supervisor Steck, there we go. Okay. All right, we have 19 present, 2 are absent, so we have enough to continue with our meeting. Would you please join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Well, motion to approve the agenda. A motion by Supervisor Baraboo and a second by Supervisor Huffberger. Please vote your ballot. We have 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent, so we do have a majority. Moving on to the approval of the minutes. I have a motion by Supervisor Draheim and a second by Supervisor Steer. If there are no corrections or additions, please vote your ballot. We have 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. We have a majority, so the minutes have been approved. Are there any petitions?
There are no petitions.
Communications.
First communication was a thank you card from the family of Howard Mezera.
All right. Place that on file.
And our second communication is a Wood County resolution encouraging support of proposed revisions to Chapter NR 151 Wisconsin Administrative Code, which will set newer targeted performance standards and prohibitions to abate pollution of groundwater by nitrate in areas of the state with highly permeable soils that are susceptible to groundwater contamination.
All right, I'll refer that to the Land and Water Committee. Public participation. Anybody? Okay. All right, we'll go on to special business. This morning we have Chris Viau, who's the Area 10 UW Extension Director, and he's going to talk to us about the impact of the extension with Calumet County and statewide connections.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for providing me a little bit of time on your busy agenda to just share an update about some of the happenings at UW Extension, since some things that, some changes since maybe the last time that someone has spoke before you. But first, I'd like to introduce myself a little bit. My name is Chris Viau. I'm the Director of Area 10, which includes Calumet, Outagamie, Waupaca, and Winnebago counties. I have the opportunity to provide administrative leadership to those 4 counties with the extension programs, supervising a number of staff and also working with the county support staff in each of those areas. Here in Calumet County, I have the opportunity to work with some individuals, and a new individual that I'd like to introduce is Carlia Lehrman. If Carlia just would give a wave. Carlia is our 4-H program coordinator here in Calumet County. So she provides leadership and volunteer management for and support for our 4-H program and our community club program. Carlia joined us October 26th. 28th. See, it's close. So she's been on the job, and she is in a process of in that new stuff, learning people, learning the role, but also conducting a needs assessment, of which at an appropriate time, once the needs assessment is completed, we'll see if there is an opportunity for her to share some of the needs that she has discovered in Calumet County and how the 4-H program has an opportunity in that area. So thank you, Carlia. Also not able to join us this morning is our agriculture educator, Amber O'Brien. Amber O'Brien is has been on the job for about a year and a half now, and she has a dairy and livestock focus. And as many people also know, that here in the greater Calumet County area, when you look at a dairy and livestock focus, you also have a nutrient management sub-focus, looking at all of the different things that are related to the dairy industry and forage production and associated. One of the things that Amber, and we'll focus a little bit, we're hoping that Amber will have an opportunity to give you a brief update on some of her manure management research that she has been able to conduct at a future date when appropriate. One of the things that I just want to spend a couple of moments and just share, we've had a lot of change within Extension over the past few years, and we could do a rewind and rehash all of the rights and the wrongs and all of those things, but many of those things that are things that I had, coming into this role just recently within the last year, and that individuals here in this room may not have been through. So it doesn't pay to really focus on some of the what. I'd rather, I guess, look at our motto and what's printed on the flag, and let's look forward and see where we are now. One of the things that occurred, if you may have noticed, for those that have had some ties to Extension, we used to be blue was our primary color. And very recently, as of July 1, that blue shifted to a distinct shade of red as our administrative home transitioned to the University of Wisconsin-Madison, as we are now a division of Extension at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. While this administrative change occurred, very little of the focus of the programmatic focus changed. So one of the things that, as Extension was when we were our standalone institution within the UW system, is we still were one of the key components of driving the Wisconsin idea, which dates back to 1905 in a speech by Charles Van Hise, in which he just shared, "I shall never be content until the beneficent influence of the university reaches every family of the state." So to try and get the resources of the university throughout all of the borders, within all of the borders. Now, Extension and the Wisconsin idea are very, very connected. Our mission is to connect the people of the state of Wisconsin with the university. We have the opportunity to work alongside the citizens and the communities and the businesses in the state to help improve lives and improve those communities. We have the opportunity to have staff in all 72 counties and all 3 of our tribal nations. In fact, Wisconsin has actually 3 land-grant universities within our state. We're 3 separate land-grant acts, and the land grant that many are familiar with grants University of Wisconsin-Madison with land-grant status, but there's also a 1994 land-grant act which provides land-grant status to the Menominee Tribal College and the Lakota Tribal College as well within the state of Wisconsin. So a little bit of the focus on some of the things that are happening locally. Now, because we're hoping to have an opportunity for each of our educators in the upcoming months to share some of the specifics, just wanted to give some highlights. Within the 4-H program, membership is steady. This is significant because right now the available youth population is not steady, is a slight decline. So when you have steady membership, you can actually argue that that's actually an increase because you're maintaining your numbers. One of the things that the unique partnerships of allowing youth to develop skills and provide partnerships for them to work with caring adults who may or may not be their parents is sometimes an opportunity to meet youth where they're at. The Pinewood Derby has been a success. If you walk across the hall, there's some boxes with wooden cars, and it's an opportunity for some fun, friendly competition that also has an opportunity for youth to build some skills and create some unique experiences. Summer camp is a hit. summer camp continues to be a strong program to provide experiences, and I'll talk a little bit about one of the benefits of the changes to UW-Madison and some of the focuses and how it impacts our youth that are able to go to summer camp. And so, the Festival of Fun is making a return. Carlia has worked with the 4-H volunteers to bring back a program that was highly valued by the members to provide short-term initial learning experiences that will hopefully have lasting impacts and lasting 4-H project experiences. In the agricultural programs, Amber has had the opportunity to work with producers to help modernize their facilities. This has been a really tough few years for our agricultural producers, and trying to look at any way that they can in which to put a couple extra pennies into their accounts to help pay the bills and take care of their families. Also, there's with part of a statewide team, Amber has produced some dairy management tools that will again help our dairy producers be more profitable, and has worked extensively in the areas of nutrient management. So those connections those local impacts are not without the opportunity of some statewide connections. On July 1st, we officially became a division of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. And initially, I remember about a year and a half prior, not quite, in October, receiving an email from still president, but president of the university system, Ray Cross, that said, and Extension will be part of UW-Madison. And that was something in which there was a very strong unknown, very concerning for those that, that's all the information, is that you will move to Madison and have a new administrative home left a lot of unanswered questions. So as that transition and some of the pieces were completed, there are some very strong benefits of being part of a regional and national leader in the areas of research and academic and student-led research, and being part of the network of campus specialists and campus-wide opportunities. UW-Madison really truly does want Extension to be part of their family, as they envision us as a significant part of the Wisconsin idea to bring the resources of the university to all the citizens within the state of Wisconsin. So, for example, some examples in the area of 4-H. We have a 4-H STEM and youth specialist. There are opportunities for Carlia and the volunteers to engage and to get specific instruction in areas of robotics and other STEM training. This is an area in which there is growth, and there are further specialists and other connections that can be created through the youth development program, but also through the School of Human Ecology on campus, as they can bring some of their research and their practical examples to help aid and assist the 4-H staff and the 4-H volunteers as they try to make impacts in our youth. Upham Woods is also now a University of Wisconsin-Madison research institution. It is doing youth research in the areas of environmental education. So instead of just going to summer camp, which we could argue that did and didn't happen, students and some of our youth and our volunteers from Calumet County are able to go to Upham Woods, the environmental center, and not only have a overnight residential camping experience, but they're able to participate in environmental education that is on one of the cutting edge of youth experiences in environmental education. They have pioneered something called DOTS, which are kits, technology kits that are using the discovery of the area around them, but using technology to help fuel, inspire, and document that exploration and that research. Also, in the area of agriculture, Amber has demonstrated many connections in this past year and a half, as she has connected with UW specialists not only from the University of Wisconsin-Madison, but also in Minnesota, Illinois, Iowa, and has even she's even arranged to have a dairy robotics expert from Finland present and be part of and bring their knowledge right here to producers in Calumet County and the surrounding area. And those are areas that will continue to grow because the opportunities or the situations that are facing the dairy industry and the agricultural industry here in Calumet County are not isolated to Calumet County alone. And there are other regions of the state and other states in the nation that can all learn and grow from each other so we can all benefit from this formal transition to University of Wisconsin-Madison. So what are some of the opportunities looking ahead? So one of the things is that we have increased connections to our University of Wisconsin faculty and research and the overall land grant system. Some of these are undiscovered and untapped because this partnership is so new. We don't even know what we don't know yet. So those are some really exciting opportunities that are available. We have the potential through our new administrative model, though the growing pains that were there is the potential to more efficiently share resources through regional networks, to partner and collaborate on short, medium, or possibly long-term needs, to tap into the resources of the university, to partner with our local partners, the counties, other regional initiatives, and be a little bit more creative. And maybe even entrepreneurial to help try and meet the needs of the citizens and bring the resources of the University of Wisconsin to a very local level. So I would like to thank you for just allowing me an opportunity to give you an overview of some of the change and some of the possibilities that might be able to occur. I would encourage you to connect with us in any way, and I also am planning to stick around after the meeting, so I'd be happy to answer any questions or engage in any conversation at that time. So, thank you.
Are there any questions right now that you'd like to ask Supervisor Diedrich?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one quick question. Several times you mentioned the land grant system. What's the benefit to UW Extension of being tied in the land grant system today in 2020?
So the land grant system is, so it's a federal designation. By being part of a land grant system, we are actually the recipient of Smith-Lever funds. These are funds from the United States Department of Agriculture that are, they're funds that are based for research and for extension programming. Without being part of the land grant and those funds, we would not have that extension funding from the United States Department of Agriculture, and likely we would cease to exist because it's a very significant source of funding.
I see why you emphasize that. Thank you.
Are there any other questions right now?
Just quickly,
Gleckner?
the acronym STEM, what does that stand for?
Oh, thank you, yes. Science, technology, engineering, and math. And there's also sometimes an A added, STEAM, for science, technology, engineer, arts, and math. So those are some acronyms that are used. So thank you for allowing me to clarify.
Okay, thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks.
Appreciate it. All right, moving on, we're going to hear from Angela Van Neupert. She's the project coordinator for REACH. You certainly heard Supervisor Gens talk about the REACH program that we have going here. It's reducing excessive alcohol consumption for health.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity for us to share our coalition information with you. REACH was created as part of the Healthiest Calumet County Community Health Improvement Initiative, established in 2013 to address the excessive alcohol consumption issue in Calumet County. REACH was awarded a drug-free community federal grant in 2018 and has begun its second year of potentially a 10-year grant. The federal grant funding was awarded with the expectation that the coalition will earn community support to match federal funds and also work towards sustainability of the coalition beyond year 10. In July of 2019, the REACH membership updated the branding to what you see today. They kept the original mission of the coalition, but they removed the acronym Reducing Excessive Alcohol for Healthy Living to reflect the changes required by the drug-free community grant.
My name is Hannah Wills. I am the Youth and Communications Coordinator for REACH. As part of this DFC grant, there is 12 sectors that must be represented in REACH's membership. Oh, maybe we should go to the next slide. Community Action for Healthy Living is our fiscal agent and oversees budget, compliance, and staff supervision. Calumet County Public Health supports through match, including office supplies, office space, and staff time.
As part of the federal grant, REACH analyzed the county data to identify and focus on the most prevalent substances of misuse by youth. Alcohol and tobacco were chosen as those two substances to focus on, as the usage rate of youth of both substances has increased significantly over the past few years. Additionally, the age of initiation, or the age at which a child first tries a substance, is becoming younger. This is a concern, as research has shown that preventing or delaying all substances of use by teens reduces the risk of later addiction as adults, as well as adversely affects physical and mental health in both the short and long term for teenagers.
As a DFC coalition, REACH must follow the guidelines of the Strategic Prevention Framework and focus on evidence-based practices. REACH focuses on multiple activities in order to affect change. Youth groups build protective factors. The Chilton REACH Youth Group created a sticker campaign, which, if you guys go to Terra Verde, may have gotten it on your cups, and created an awareness billboard. The Stockbridge REACH Youth are currently developing a kindness campaign to be utilized by all Stockbridge School District students for the month of February.
Alcohol age compliance checks are when an underage adult, under the supervision of an undercover law enforcement officer, attempts to purchase alcohol at licensed establishments with a valid ID. And as you can note, we've put on the screen what our compliance rates are. So in August of 2019, we had a 24% non-compliance rate, or failure to follow checking with IDs and selling to minors. And in 2019, in November, we had a 50% non-compliance rate.
REACH works with community sectors to both support current training opportunities, create those needed to offer to the public. We do this a lot by being able to attend, what am I trying to say? Parent-teacher conferences, thank you. And show our mock bedroom, which just gives parents and teachers a way to look at current trends that youth are using, including vape products.
Our coalition members are very active in the community in a variety of ways. Besides attending our regular meetings, they attend regional and statewide trainings that help focus on prevention information and how to get that back into the community, as well as working within different coalitions or different groups to spread the prevention message. We have a couple different things upcoming over the next few months, including 5 REACH members with 2 youth attending the 16th Annual Prevention Day and National Leadership Forum in Washington, D.C. in a couple weeks. As well, REACH is sponsoring a Calumet County Key Stakeholders Breakfast for elected officials, law enforcement, and school administration to focus on sharing the information that we've gathered regarding substance misuse by youth in Calumet County. Additionally, REACH is assisting and co-sponsoring the Chilton High School Mental Health and Wellness Festival coming up in March. Furthermore, REACH assists coalition and community members in attending several important upcoming trainings, including some prevention conferences.
What you can do. REACH appreciates the support of individuals, businesses, and local agencies in a variety of ways. Together, we can protect the health, safety, and quality of life for all, especially our children.
So So on behalf of Hannah, myself, and our coalition members, we appreciate the time to share what our coalition is doing in Calumet County, and we would love to work with any of you who are interested in getting more information or know anyone else who might be interested in becoming part of our group.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions of the young ladies up here by anyone? All right, we have Supervisor Stillman.
Thank you. You gals up there, do you work with the youth themselves on tobacco and vaping stuff like that?
Correct, yep. I am the youth coordinator, so we are in year 2 of our DFC grant, so we have a REACH group right now in Chilton and one in Stockbridge, and we are currently working with Hilbert and obviously getting into the other schools, but trying to get more protective factors for our youth and really build them up and empower them so that they don't choose to use substances.
Okay, did you ever, or anybody ever tell you about these kids when they try these products, you know, like to take a drag of something and then blow it out on a white handkerchief, then take another drag, inhale, and then blow it out? The kids don't know what ends up in their lungs when they do that then, so if you're doing something like that, I think that may make an impression on one once in a while, you never know, but,
Right.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Diedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, ladies. I have a quick question. You mentioned the high statistic of students, or I should say youth, having their first drink before age 13. Do you have any idea if that's unsupervised or under adult supervision?
In Calumet County, it's both.
Thank you.
Supervisor Lochran.
Thank you. Question, have you worked with any of your legislators to get support for your program?
That is what our breakfast that we're having, we are currently looking for sponsorship to assist in hosting the breakfast. We're looking at doing it in February or March, and all key stakeholders in Calumet County are invited to get the information out. In general, our fiscal agent is Community Action for Healthy Living, and they've been working at policy change surrounding tobacco usage for the last few years especially, so that's something that we're working towards in the second year of our grant.
Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Schwallenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would say that if any of you have an opportunity to see the mock bedroom that this organization has, it's a real eye-opener, and it changes very fast. It's ways people can hide drugs, alcohol, in your children's bedrooms. That's the object of it, for things to look for. I believe the grant you received was $125,000, if I'm correct, that we got from the federal government. So they did a lot of work to apply and get this grant, and they do a lot of work. My personal opinion is I would like to see more participation from people, and they do go into the schools, and they were a sponsor of the Rise Together that was at Stockbridge too, that unfortunately I didn't have a lot of participation from the public, but you went into the schools. The schools are very appreciative if they let you in. I would encourage that too. The other, the thing that I've noticed not only with this organization and other ones is the coalition people you're looking for is, if you know of anybody from a faith-based organization, that seems to be the area that we're lacking in. And I realize everybody is terribly busy, but this is a real wonderful program. Thank you, girls.
I am actually going to be hosting a mock bedroom in Brillion for their middle school parents and teachers. And that, it's directed towards the parents and teachers, but I have people from the public that do come just to see the mock bedroom, which you guys could more than willing come and look at that, as Mary said.
And additionally, we are willing, our mock bedroom travels, we have both backpacks and the full bedroom with vaping devices, drug paraphernalia devices, alcohol and whatnot, as Mary said. We would love to get into community events to share this information. It's not just a parent situation. We teach the teachers within the school what to look for. As things are quickly changing, especially with vaping in our community, it's good to get the newest devices out for people to see and to recognize and be aware of. So if there's any community events that you're involved in, or family members or your network are involved in that you'd like us to present, we really just need a small space to show our stuff. And we ask that children are not invited, because obviously we don't want to teach them more.
All right. Do you have a date on that, Brilliant? Mark?
It's Monday, I believe, the 27th.
All right, thank you.
It's from 12 until 7 p.m.
Thank you. Okay, Supervisor Lochran.
A suggestion for a group you might want to contact too, it's the Alcoholic Anonymous. They're very strong in this area, and I'm sure they'd give you some support.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Gens.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to note that as we started out with the program several years ago now, many individuals from this county already are involved in this process. There's been wonderful support. This group has done an excellent job of doing the research, both with youth and adults in this county. So there's a lot of data available that has come about as a result of the work that these folks have been doing. Should just point out that binge drinking, when you look at it on a national basis, Wisconsin is #1 in binge drinking. And guess who's #1 county in the state? It's us, Calumet County. So that makes us #1 in the nation when you, this is several years old. It's new again. We're still there.
Yep, Calumet County always ranks between either 1 or 2 in the top counties for Wisconsin.
So it's one of the reasons why this effort was made part of the healthiest Calumet County effort.
Yep.
And so I keep close to these groups on this healthiest Calumet County effort. And I can tell you, more and more people are getting involved. And we have youth working on youth. So in some of these schools, they have a group of students who put on programs, for their peers. And so the effort is growing, and it needs to grow even faster because we are not there at all yet. We're still #1 in the nation. So, but I just want to commend you who are involved directly with this work. You're doing a great job.
Thank you, Merlin.
Thank you. Supervisor Gleckner.
Thank you. I was just thinking how in other areas, like driving and they produce these videos that show the horrific effects of people who don't take driving seriously. And I'm wondering if you might have ever considered creating a video that shows the effects of alcohol, how it is, how people make fools of themselves when they're drunk, or for that matter, vaping, showing some people in the hospital fighting for their lives because they inhaled things they shouldn't have. There's a lot of new research on vaping that shows these deaths are being caused by the interaction in your lung. So
That's one of the methods that we use. Another method is to teach the protective factors. And that's building up youth skills, not only to say no, but to do other things instead of turning to the negative substances. And then part of what that is also, the education helps, but when they're teenagers, their brains are undeveloped in many, many ways. So we have to also come up with evidence-based strategies that can help them, guide them out of that decision-making pattern.
So you already have these videos.
There's
You're
some
way ahead of me.
videos that we use, and then a lot of what prevention focuses on is the teaching of those protective factors that build their health overall.
Right, I just want to add, working directly with the youth, I try to talk to them and figure out, why are you using these substances? And a lot of times it's because they're stressed out or they feel like they, have a lot to show, or they, don't feel like they're good enough to some extent. So building up those by creating these kindness projects and making and empowering our youth more so that they can have these other protective factors, as Annie said, to, help them choose other ways to cope with their stress than using substances.
Okay, thank you very much. We certainly appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
All right, moving along under special business. You all received a little memo from me regarding the county administrator's performance review. The feedback should be by January 28th. We have the evaluation set for Todd on January 30th, and that will be done by myself and Merlin Gens and Mary Schwallenberg, who are the two vice chairs. If you have anything you want to get to me, you can either email me or put it in a sealed envelope and leave it in the clerk's office, where I do have a mailbox. And if there's any questions about that? Okay, then we're going to move on to resolutions.
Resolution 2020-38, it's actually 2019-38. Resolution authorizing a lake protection grant application for the Calumet Lakes watershed, introduced by the Land and Water Conservation Committee.
Do I have a motion to adopt? I have a motion by Supervisor Draheim and a second by Supervisor Booty. And Supervisor Huffberger, would you speak to this resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This grant application is intended to fund the implementation of the DNR and EPA-approved Calumet-Manitowoc Lakes Watershed Plan. Components to be funded by this grant include education and outreach to agricultural producers in the watershed and the promotion and cost share of no-till cover crop practices on agricultural lands. Overall, the total grant funding to be requested in this grant application will be up to $50,000 as included in the 2020 budget.
All right, are there any questions regarding this resolution? Supervisor Schwallenberg.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A few years ago, there was a meeting with the DNR, and I'm talking several years ago, about this Mancal Lakes business with Manitowoc County. Is this an extension of that, or is this something new, or whatever happened to that? Because they were doing some boring or whatever at that time, I think, in the lakes.
I don't know, but I'll bet Tony does.
Thank you.
I guess I'm not exactly sure which meeting you're talking about. There's been a few different meetings in that area. One of them was that Upper Manitowoc River Watershed Task Force. One of the recommendations of that group was to do watershed planning like this, and then what we've done in the North Branch of the Manitowoc. The coring you might be talking about is when the plan was put together, there were cores taken from the lake bottoms to see what the historic condition of the lakes were. So this is part of that. This grant is really addressing the external external pollutant loading that's coming from the watershed. Once that's dealt with, then we can move forward with looking at the internal loads from the lakes. But a requirement is to deal with the watershed first.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, please vote your ballot. Supervisor Huffsberger, thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent, so it has a majority vote, so that resolution has been adopted. Next resolution.
Resolution 2019-39, resolution authorizing salaries for elected officials for the years 2021 through 2024, introduced by the Administrative Services Committee.
All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Steer and a second by Supervisor Draheim. And Supervisor Gens, would you speak to this resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Be glad to. The Wisconsin state statutes require us as a board to establish a total annual compensation for services to be paid to county elected officials other than the supervisors and circuit judges prior to the earliest time for filing nomination papers for the county elective office. And so that's what the resolution before us is. It sets the salaries for the next 4 years for those officials. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any questions regarding this resolution? Supervisor Draheim.
Thank you.
Madam Chairman. It's nice to see what 21, 22, 23, and 24, but we don't have what 20s in there. What is this, a percentage of what, 2, 3?
It's a 3% each year across the years that you see there. So the salaries that you see for 2021 represent 3% over what they're getting what that position's doing right now.
So are we setting a precedent that, not precedent, but that all salaries in the next 4 years are going to go up 3%? Is that what we're doing? Because if you give it 3% to these people, then you're going to have to give it to all the other employees, which is only fair. So you're setting that in place. Wow. Thank you.
I'm going to have Todd answer that question. Go ahead.
Well, I can't answer that question specifically, other than all I would point out is the recommendation that Michelle and I put forward was a 3% in year one and a 2% thereafter. And what I had mentioned to the committee was a concern about that 3% going forward, but they had some specific reasons why they approved the change. I just wanted to point out that we had put the 2% forward specifically because of that has been the pattern. Although we didn't have a predictor to say what other counties were doing going forward, and that ranges from, there were 13% increase, 7% increase, 0% increase, so it was kind of all over the board. So I just wanted to point out that we had put forward a 3% in year one and a 2% thereafter.
So
but the committee approved a 3.
So did I hear you say that the first year is 3% and the rest are 2%?
That was the initial proposal. The
Oh,
committee,
but that didn't go.
The committee approved a change to do a
3.
3% across the board, and they had their reasoning, which those members can speak to those changes.
Supervisor Gens, would you speak to the change that they wanted? Do you recall?
Well, there was a lot of discussion in our committee regarding that very issue, and there was a feeling on the part of some of the members that that wasn't enough, that it should be 3% across the board. And so there was an amendment to the original proposed resolution, and it passed our committee 4-3 to go from 2% to 3%.
Good to know.
All right. Supervisor Stillman?
Thank you. This 3%, I really feel that's excessive. Our inflation rate, or not inflation, but our Social Security went up 1.69%. You know, why would, when the cost of living only goes up 1.9%, why should we give other people 3, 4, and 5% and things like that? I think years ago some supervisors thought we should maybe go with a flat dollar amount, you know, each year. Which, you know, I mean, that's just something to talk about. But anyway, the way this stands, I'm not going to vote for this. And I won't bring up an amendment, you know, to change anything to get it closer to this 1.69%. But if anybody does bring something up to change that 3%, I would second that portion. And so, okay, thank you.
just to clarify a little bit, that we had, meaning Michelle and I had reviewed and can justify the 3% in year one specifically as over time, looking at those comparables, and we used the same comparables that we used for appointed positions, so department heads and staff across the board. And that 3% in year one, we believed brought them up a level. If you remember previously, we made a bigger adjustment to get them to more in line with the comparables. And our original proposal that we brought to the committee put them in the 50% benchmark, which is where the rest of the county employees are. So I just wanted to be clear that that was made with specific review of comparables of salaries of the same positions. Difficulty in these is that could be for various political reasons in different counties. But our comparables have been pretty consistent, I would say, Michelle, if you agree, that using the same groupings. Now, this does not lift them to the same compensation level that you will find in the larger counties, the larger surrounding counties that are also in our comparables, but puts them more in line with that 50% benchmark, which would be similar to like a Chippewa County, or I can't remember all the other specifics, but if you need to, we can provide that as well.
All right. Supervisor Steer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I guess I'm the one that wanted to raise it to 3 across the board, mainly. My reasoning is this: we had a study several years ago, and everyone was put on, except for elected officials. They kind of fall through the cracks. Everyone gets a step raise, plus they'll get the 2% COLA. But elected officials get no step raises. So in order to bring them up into equal with the people that are getting step raises, I suggest 3% across the board. Now, every 4 years we got to redo this, I believe. So, I mean, you can increase or go up or down, whatever you wish to do. But if they got step raises, I would not have suggested this, but they don't. So we need to be fair to the elected officials. You know, sometimes I wish we didn't have to go through the elected process for certain positions, but we do. So that's why I'm in favor of the 3%. I think it's just a fair adjustment for those that are getting the step raises year after year. Thank you.
Supervisor Diedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To try to help the rest of the board who's not on the admin committee understand the problem, just going to give you some background. And so in full disclosure, I voted against the amendment. In other words, I supported the 3% the first year and 2% following years. This is always a dilemma for us. We have the challenge of trying to look ahead and anticipate what might happen, because we have to lock these salaries in before the election. It's a state statute. And then we have the additional problem that a couple elected officials aren't on the same cycle. So we always have the potential of discontinuity between our own elected officials. So that's kind of the statement of the problem. The discussion that we just heard from Supervisor Steer about why he supported it, I think is a very reasonable and understandable discussion. But it ignores the fact that our elected officials, when you look at what the administrator pointed out, they did a comparable, and that's how they came to the 3% the first year. Put the people where they believe they should be for similar counties. In talking to Michelle after the meeting, I found out that, yes, the elected officials do not have step increases, which would not be true of the other county employees. But most of our county employees are not at the top of their pay range, if you want to call it, they have that range, and they would get steps. A lot of the elected officials, and I don't know the specifics, are probably at the top of the range and wouldn't get a step anyway. So I would support a 3% first year, 2% the following years, and I would make that proposal that we amend this increase back to what the administrator originally proposed, 3% first year and 2% following on years. Thank you.
All right, wait till we do the amendment. Got it? Okay, I have one. Would you make the motion, Supervisor Diedrich, on your? All right, I have a motion to amend the salaries to 3% the first year and 2% for each year following. And I have a second by who? Supervisor Booty. Discussion on the amendment. Supervisor Booty.
Thank you. So we've heard how the initial 2021 salary was set based on comparables with elected officials in other counties of the state. How does that compare to a department head within Calumet County, since these elected officials are essentially department heads of their branch?
How does what compare, Matthew?
Salary-wise. If we were looking at a department head from a department, would this be?
I can get you that specifically, Michelle. I don't know if you can pull it up, but you're talking in this range, you would probably have department heads that are below this range, and you'll have department heads that are ahead of this range. I can tell you that the methodology would be similar in terms of how those salaries are set, because we used the same comparables in the elected officials, same counties, similar positions, as we've done with department heads.
Okay, so we don't have a standard, generic, your department head X?
No, we base salaries on comparables. The Administrative Services Committee certainly has privy to more of that detailed information, as we just had a compensation review and a presentation done to admin. But it's done through the consultant, and comparables are identified based on positions.
Okay.
So, and that's, if you can recall our comp plan, those salaries range quite a bit depending on the position and the responsibilities.
Right, and they start out at a certain level and then advance.
Correct.
Depending on responsibilities and so forth.
Correct.
Okay, let's say then, for generic employee, what is I know what a step increase is, but as a percentage, if I am an employee and I move up one step, is one step equal to 1% of my pay, 2, 3?
Approximately 2% on a step.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Karth.
Thank you. First of all, I want to ask just a couple questions. I lead a group of people in my private sector job, and I know that when it's made public that the directors, VPs, CEOs get a certain amount of bonus and they don't, it crushes culture a little bit. And a lot of work has to do to repair that. Is the 333 something that would be a culture factor, in your opinion? Or would 322 be better received by the vast majority of people who work in this building?
Was that for me? That
For
question?
you or Michelle?
You want to answer it? Okay. My opinion, and then Michelle's, I'm trying to figure out, should you give yours first, or do you want me to give mine first? You can go ahead.
When it comes to, right, compensation is a difficult difficult subject for many. I think we'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who would say they prefer less compensation. So I struggle a little bit with the question because there's so much more that goes into culture than compensation. So I think on one standpoint, sure, give people more. Maybe for a short period of time, they'll be happier. Or from a culture standpoint, morale, you might see lift. But the research ultimately shows that compensation is not the main driver of culture and morale within an organization. So I'm hesitant to really confirm and say, yeah, that happens. Maybe you'd see a lift for a little while. But I just go back to, again, we take a look at the data, we take a look at our comparables, we work really hard to try to ensure that we have that consistency in how we approach compensation so that we don't find ourselves in that circumstance where individuals are not compensated fairly or feeling as though they are lesser than someone that would be compared their equal or their comparable.
All right, then I have one more question, and you may want to stay.
Sure.
With the amount of money that we have spent this year in a jail, on property, on county park improvements, my assumption is that the next few years are going to be very tight with the county budget. I'm also assuming that may impact merit increases across the board for our regular employees. It may not. If we do a 3%, 3%, 3%, or a 3%, 2%, 2%, how do you have projections on what those merit increases for our standard employees on average? Are they going to be well below that, equal to that?
No, because like you pointed out, we don't know what that future is going to bring. So each year we're going to evaluate what is the cost of living changes, what are the comparables. Whether we do a full-blown study like we did this year or not, we still take a look and we do those comparisons with the counties that we have deemed as comparable to Calumet County, and we pull those factors together. And then that drives the discussion that Todd and I have around what, if any, across-the-board adjustment is brought to committee and to this board.
Okay.
Just to go back a bit to answer the first question from my perspective, simply because Michelle and I had the conversation and I made the recommendation. And the recommendation came from me at a 3% because it adjusted the elected officials to their 50% benchmark from the comparables used by all other positions. And the 2% I agreed to because that has been our consistent request to the county board. So from my perspective, it was difficult for me to treat them differently than we would other department heads and recommend a different compensation. I certainly would do that if I felt that the comparables were off. And I did that in the first opportunity I had to make a recommendation to the board for the elected officials. I've had those conversations early on with them under the previous change when the lift was more like a 7% in year one to get that adjustment made to get them in the compensation that made sense. So part of that culture thing, and Michelle was spot on in terms of her response, but if you're just looking at compensation overall, to try to be consistent with that 2%, and the conversation with the committee was also, we don't know. There have been times when I know, I've been around long enough, in 2008, when the economy tanked, and our request to the county board for compensation was different because we didn't have the dollars available and the growth available to us. So it depends, and some of those things we can't predict as far as that goes. And that's also kind of a lead into the second question that Michelle answered. Our conversation is how to stay competitive on the salary front. Certainly, that we're paying people competitively, that we're still an employer that people want to come to, and it's beyond just the compensation. We understand that.
Perfect. Thank you, and great answers, and I'll support the amendment.
Supervisor Hartle?
My answer was clarified. I was concerned that if the county administrator brought a recommendation, that I would like to see that go forward. Thank you.
Supervisor Loughran? Or Supervisor Stillman, excuse me.
Thank you. Does Calumet County pay fringe benefits too? elected officials, and are they on the Wisconsin retirement system also then?
Yes, they are part of Wisconsin retirement, and they are also included as an option for health insurance. The difference, Michelle, you can speak to I believe there's one difference in terms of.
The paid time off program.
So where other staff get the PTO and a conversion at the end of the year of our paid time off to our post-employment health plan, that's not afforded to the elected official positions.
Okay, thank you.
Supervisor Lochran?
Thank you. I have difficulty in projecting guaranteed wages down the road for not knowing what the performance might be. I like elected positions, but maybe we should work harder to get these positions changed to a county position. I know there was a movement on that several years ago, but I'm not going to pay for an automobile or a house being built at a cost that's unknown to me. You know, I think we got to work something out on that. Also, how many days vacation and holiday pay are involved in that? I mean, I look at working days. You know, we shoot that up there pretty well in that rate. And God, I'm not knocking any of the work ethics coming out of any of those offices. But to also, you know, you guys have been in there quite a while. One of them might, you may get a new blood in there, and you're going to start them at 70, the same salary that the guy next to you that's been there 10 years. That doesn't create a great situation either. So just some thought for your vote.
Supervisor Draheim?
Thinking about all this, do we have to come up with the amount for all those years, or could we have a 3% this year, and if union contracts go up the next year by 2%, we could, and the next year it could be 1%, and wouldn't that be nice? Because that way you'd be staying right in with what everybody else is getting. And so if they get 4%, you get 4%. But it has to be established this way. We can't change that.
No, it's based on the
State law?
statute.
It's based on state statute.
State statute drives that we need to do this, and we need to do it in advance of them filing papers for the next term.
And that's too bad, because that would be a nice, easy way, and nobody would have to argue about what you're going to get. And they might be in a problem here. Union contracts might go up 4%, and they're only going to get 2% the next year. So where do you draw the line? It's difficult. Thank you.
Okay. Supervisor Woody?
Thank you. Hearing our discussion that we've had and thinking about it a little more, I kind of come to the conclusion that I should stop thinking about the elected officials as equivalent to employees. They are not employees of Calumet County. I mean, we pay them, but we don't hire them other than through an election. They are voted into office. So in my mind, I'm going to stop thinking about the elected officials as employees of Calumet County and think of them more like limited term employees. I mean, essentially, they are signing up for a 4-year term of employment at a certain wage, and after 4 years, they might be gone, and they do this knowingly. So I am now thinking that I should stop considering them like employees and worrying about step increases that employees get, and think of them in limited term form. So in that case, I am fine with eliminating the step that was kind of baked in here and just changing it to be a generic cost of living increase in the 4-year term. So that is what I'm thinking, and I hope maybe that helps other people think about it similarly. Thank you.
Supervisor Steer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. One more time, with the steps, I struggle with that, with the elected officials and steps for the other employees. I negotiate a union contract. We do it over a 3-4 year period. This is what you get. That's what you have for 3-4 years. You don't go back in the middle saying, well, the cost of living, didn't go up that much, you can't have your raise, or vice versa. If the cost of living goes up 5% and we only settle for 3%, that's our tough luck. But that's part of negotiations. Unfortunately, elected officials don't have a lot to say. They get what these members here give them, and that's it. It's too bad that elected officials couldn't have the step type thing, like year 1 you get this, 2, 3, and as you go the longer in term you would get those steps, but apparently that's not an option. So the 3%, that was just a thing for me to compensate for the steps, which, as Matthew had asked, right now a step is 2% and then a 2% COLA, so that's 4% for those people that are in the step phase. So I understand it, but I've seen many times that the elected officials do not get a fair amount of compensations in some areas. So, thank you.
Okay, so we are ready for the amendment. And the amendment is to go 3% in 2021 and 2% in 2022, 23, and 24. That's the amendment that we're voting on. So if there are no more questions, please vote your ballot. Supervisor Hofsberger, would you vote, please? Confirm. 12 yes, 7 nay, 2 absent. So we have a majority vote, and the amendment has been passed. Now moving on to the original question as amended. Are there any further questions? Please vote your ballot. Thirteen yes, 6 nay, 0 we have 2 absent, so it has received the majority vote, so that resolution has been adopted. All right, moving on to ordinance.
Ordinance 2019-08, ordinance to amend Chapter 82 zoning code on certain property in the town of Charlestown, property of Jeff Poggle, introduced by the Planning, Zoning, and Farmland Preservation Committee.
All right, do I have a motion to adopt? I have a motion by Supervisor Draheim and a second by I have a motion by Supervisor Karth and a Supervisor Booty is a second. And Supervisor Hofsberger, would you speak to this ordinance?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jeff Poggle wishes to rezone 3.2 acres of land located in Section 13, the town of Charleston, from exclusive agriculture to agricultural residential. This will allow Mr. Poggle to construct a new single-family residence. According to our recently adopted Calumet County zoning ordinance, Mr. Poggle is required to rezone a minimum of 19 acres of his property for every acre that is rezoned for residential use. Therefore, this rezone also includes the rezoning of approximately 68.7 acres to the EAP district. The rezoning of the land to EAP is intended to restrict further non-farm residential development, to preserve those lands for future ag use, and to provide a method to track rezones well into the future. The town of Charleston went on record on support of this zoning map amendment. After a public hearing, the County P&Z Committee voted unanimously to recommend approval of the rezone after finding the rezoning of 3.2 acres to the agricultural residential district will not result in the loss of prime ag land. The rezone is consistent with the Calumet County Farmland Preservation Plan 2020-2030 and the Calumet County General Ordinance, Zoning Ordinance. The proposal includes rezoning approximately 68.7 acres of land to exclusive ag preservation, which will prohibit future non-farm residential development. I'd like to talk just a few more seconds on spot zoning. The classic definition of spot zoning is the process of singling out a small parcel of land for a use classification totally different from that of the surrounding area for the benefit of the owner of such property and to the detriment of other owners. This is not spot zoning because the majority of the proposed rezoned 68.7 acres is from one exclusive ag district to another. The proposal will not be a detriment to adjoining ag owners or uses on nearby properties. The rezone is consistent with the Calumet County Comprehensive Plan and the Farmland Preservation Plan.
Thank you, Supervisor Hufsberger. Are there any questions regarding this? All right, Supervisor Stillman.
Thank you. I see on his application, he's got a Chilton address. Does this Jeff Pagel live in the city of Chilton now, or how did he get that address on the application?
I don't know, Matthew. I do know he's planning on living on this location after he builds a new house, but.
Yeah, that address is Mr. Pagel's mailing address. The physical property is located on Irish Road, so once he constructs the residence, he doesn't have the address until he constructs the new home on the property on Irish Road.
Yeah. Okay, these terms, exclusive agriculture preservation, are those some new terms that have just came up, or
we've
never heard of that before?
Well, we've in our ordinance in the past, for the past 20 years, we've always had an exclusive agricultural district.
Yeah.
The exclusive agricultural preservation district is an exclusive ag district that we created with our new zoning ordinance. That district is certified by DADCAP. That and the exclusive ag preservation district, so they're both certified. So we've always had exclusive ag.
Yeah.
The exclusive ag preservation is new, and it's a certified district with DADCAP. So they're both actually exclusive ag districts.
Yeah, okay. It's just that the word preservation wasn't on there before, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Okay, then, agricultural residential, that's kind of a new term too, isn't it, that Calumet County came up with, or?
Yeah, that's a new district created in the ordinance that the county board considered just in October of 2019. And that process that district was intended for this petition that we have in front of us. It utilizes what we've used in the past, the base farm tract. So if you want to construct a new residence, you use a ratio of 1 to 20 acres. So for every 1 acre converted to residential use, you have to convert, or you have to preserve 19 acres for farm use in the future. So that district was created specifically for the situation we're in, to better clarify the situation moving forward and track rezones into the future.
Okay, do you think that other counties may come up with a couple terms like this, and then as if we might be a leader in something like that, or how do you know, huh?
That's a good question. This model is based off, Sheboygan County uses a similar model, similar but considerably different in certain aspects. Marquette County uses a model that's similar, and we've taken both those and taken what our needs are here in Calumet County, and we think we came up with a really good model here. So possibly, potentially, another county will follow this.
Okay. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
Okay, Supervisor Booty?
Thank you, Matthew. I suppose not exactly pertinent to the rezone itself, but more about the creation of this new parcel. Were there any concerns about the width or length of the access to the buildable area?
If you look on page 49, or it's 45 of your packet, you'll see the outline in red. You'll see the residential parcel outlined in red. The actual southern strip, that narrow strip, is actually on an existing easement that the property owner obtains, and it's actually a gravel driveway, a very improved gravel driveway. And their access now is through an easement through the Historical Society, so that will wrap around. In our ordinance, we actually specified for rezones that we should use existing driveways and have it be as least impactful to agriculture, so that actually lines up really well with the ordinance requirements in addition to the rest of the petition.
Okay, so the flag that jogs around is simply to give them frontage on a public street?
That's correct.
Okay.
Supervisor Dietrich?
I think my question was just answered, so I'm going to pass.
All right, thank you. Supervisor Lochran?
Thank you. That 40-acre parcel, or any parcel you're dealing with, to build on that, does it have to be by the owner? Can I buy a 40-acre parcel, sell off the acreage for a residential property, and put the other balance of that land in extended ag?
We look at, it depends if you're a farmer. We have a total farm area, so you can take your total farm area, whether it be 40 acres, 80 acres, or 120 acres, and you can apply that ratio. So it's really not intended for the individual that doesn't farm and just buys 40 acres and then goes through the rezone process and splits it off. We do have the definition of a farm, the definition of farm income in our ordinance that will follow to get to the point whether or not they can qualify for a rezone or not. Does that? Our definitions, the state definition is $6,000, generating $6,000 of farm income.
What I'm looking at is the guys that are still sitting out there and with the use value assessment. They have bought this land 5 years, 7 years ago, 2 years ago, and are just waiting to sell it off when the residential demand gets a little bit higher. How is that going to be handled?
We'd apply each situation to our ordinance requirements and work through that. In this case, this individual, for that 3 acres, the egg conversion fee, I think, is $910 for Calumet County. So if he's converting 3 acres there, it'll be 3 times 910. And that is determined by the town assessor. And then they'll notify Mike's office in the treasurer's department, and then they handle the bill from there.
So again, they're really getting what they wanted. They're sitting on that land, paying 0 taxes on it for whatever amount of years, and then now they want to sell off some, they're going to pay a small penalty of $900 an acre. That's not very good news for me.
That's, that policy is set by the state of Wisconsin.
Just making people aware of it.
No.
Okay, Supervisor Stillman?
Thank you. On page 49, is that all tillable land, or is it about half of it over to the west? Is that kind of like, I don't know if you'd call it wetlands or something that's not used?
If you scroll down to page 49.
Yeah, that's what it is here, yeah.
So you can see the tillable is really the eastern.
Right, yeah.
15%. The other portion, the western portion, is wetland.
Yeah, okay. That's what it kind of looks like, so. Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
Supervisor Shu?
See, does that preservation thing stay with the land? If the guy wants to sell the land, does the new guy have to abide by that also?
That's correct. The method's designed so now Mr. Poggle could sell that remaining 76 acres, and that zoning designation stays with that. I will point out also, the ordinance is designed, if someone would buy that and wanted to rezone for another home, that takes a super majority by you folks to approve that rezone. So it's an extra protection to preserve that farmland into the future.
Okay. Supervisor Draheim.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm confused. I see Quarry Road ends there in Irish.
I'm sorry.
Quarry Road is, like, goes along that property. Okay, it stops there. All right. That's a long driveway.
That is. And it's an existing improved driveway. You can't really, it's really hard to tell. If you zoom in with your fingers, you can actually see the driveway there. It's already existing, it's already approved. Or, you know, it's there, improved, I should say.
Where did that come from? I mean, what promoted doing that long driveway there in the first place, getting that easement?
I'm not sure the history on how the driveway got there. There is a pond, a large pond back there, and I think there was kind of a camping area, and they used that drive to access that area.
I can see the way it's growing back there, or Chilton is growing. I can see that all this land someday will be residential. Sure looks that way. Looks like this is a start of it. Whatever.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Supervisor Huffsberger.
I would like to ask Matthew, and it was just mentioned that'll all be residential someday. Would you like to add on to that?
Well, you know, I would just add that 68.7 acres that's in green. In order to rezone that, they would have to come back, they would have to go through the committee and get that approved. And it doesn't, that requirement doesn't follow our plan, or that request wouldn't follow our plan and really wouldn't follow our ordinance. So even if it got by the committee, it would come to the county board to review that and the history of that, and it would take a super majority by the county board to actually change that zoning designation. So there are extra protections there. Could it be residential someday? Yes, it could get annexed to the city. This body in the future could entertain a rezone, but it would be much more difficult after this rezone to do that.
But I really wanted to bring that up because this is our first shot at our new rezoning process. I think it's better than ever, and I think it's stronger than ever. And if that gets out of ag, that stuff that we just put into the new ag, we're the one that's going to permit it to do it. Thank you.
All right. Supervisor Gleckner.
Thank you, Chairman. I merely wanted to point out that in considering this, we looked at the soil quality, and the reason that house is where it is with the long driveway is because those are the less productive soils on the property, whereas the area that we are preserving in the green is the better, more useful agricultural soils, correct?
That's correct.
Thank you, Supervisor Gleckner. If there are no more questions, would you please vote your ballot? Supervisor Stecker, would you confirm, please? Thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. It has received the majority vote, so that ordinance has been adopted. Moving on to supervisor reports. Supervisor Diedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to just kind of step out of the reports and thank this body, the people associated with Calumet County, for the prayers and sympathy expressed as I went through this loss of my wife the last 2 weeks. But in addition, I want to thank these people, the department heads and the committee chairs, for supporting Judy when she came to meetings and understanding what we were going through. So I just wanted to thank you, and my family thanks you for the support we've had.
Thank you, Supervisor Diedrich, and sympathy on your loss. All right. Supervisor Shu.
I just want to announce the advanced disposal has been sold to Waste Management. It isn't final completely yet. They figure it'll take at least a year to figure out all the details.
All right, thank you for that. Supervisor Schwallenberg?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank Hannah and Annie again for presenting to the full board the program about REACH. Calumet County is, whether you're aware or not, we are part of a regional ADRC with Wapaka and Outagamie County, yet we have a branch here. Through a long grant process, our regional director has applied for, and we have received a dementia care specialist, and they are in the process of hiring that person now. We are, I believe, one of 42 counties that have been granted one of those people as of now. As far as parks is concerned, we worked on our fee schedule. Some of our fees are staying the same. Some will go up just a little bit. We re-signed our agreement with the Valley Mountain Biking Club. If you're into fat wheel bikes, there is a winter trail that you can access through the upper park. If you park at the restaurant down in the bottom, they've given permission for that. We'll be doing a survey this year on for our parks as to what people would like to see, what they like, what they don't like, where they're coming from. Adam showed us our new county website. That's also mentioned in the administrator's report, because now you can do your reservations for the parks on that website. Before, we were part of I believe, the tourism website. And the things that you reserved for Ledgeview had to be done by phone or paper, pardon me. Some of you may have noticed we were a tourist attraction for a while with the ice shelves that were down at County Park, which to me is a little bit early. They tell me not, though, but our tube hill isn't open. We don't have enough snow. Some of our snowmobile trails are open and closed. I'd like you to check all the activities also that are going on Ledgeview. One that I and my grandsons find interesting and found interesting last year are the sled dogs will be here the beginning of February. You can ride on the sleds whether we have snow or not. I believe they come equipped with wheels. Last year we had over 300 people. This year the process is different. I would check the Facebook page or the website, because you now have to call to reserve tickets because they were so popular last year. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Schwallenberg. I just have a couple things. On your desk were your appointment interest finders for the upcoming supervisory years. Please fill those out and get them back to Todd. Also, I want to make you aware that this morning there was a meeting of East Central and Outagamie County. Outagamie County, through their finance committee, is looking to withdraw from East Central. If it passes the finance committee this morning, it will go on to the Outagamie County Board in February. I know some of you might have been approached to lend support for East Central. I did not do that because I felt it was something between Outagamie County and East Central to work out. Outagamie seems to feel that the amount of money that they are proportioned to pay is far more than the benefits that they're receiving. So that's something in the wind. If it should come that they would withdraw, they cannot withdraw until the end of the year. So I'm sure that it'll affect us as well, and so there'll be more coming on that. Other than that, that's all I have. And Supervisor Dreheim?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Matthew, Brian, and myself attended the road school that we usually go to in the wintertime. Just to bring you update of some of the things that have been happening and that we knew about, but I want to make sure that we get them. The state has requested for all flaggers to be certified, and that there can't be anyone else doing it, so, and that's a good thing. Also, that the county had to buy portable rumble strips, so that if we are working on the road, that we have to put those portables out ahead of time so people are aware. They don't listen, they don't read signs the way it seems, so we're just trying to improve the safety. And I think it's a good thing that the state said we had to do that. We didn't put it in our budget, but we'll try like heck to get it out someplace. Governor Evers had adopted a $75 million to be put into roads in the state. Out of the 75 million, a county share is 26 million. Cities get 18 million and towns get 28 million. Our county has put in for some of that revenue to be coming, and we understand that 72 counties have put in for it. So if we get it, maybe and maybe not, but it goes on there's guys that are going to be sitting down and going through all the projects, and they're going to find out which ones are the most wanted or needed, and so that's where we sit at this time. Road safety. You know that 49% of the people that die on our highways are from the counties and towns. It was interesting to see that that happens. So our safety on our roads, it has to be that's why we do the things that we do and make restrictions, and so that make our roads safer. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, I just wanted to get on the calendar that Disability Advocacy Day is Tuesday, March 24th at Monona Terrace. Registration links will be available starting in February. I believe it's free, but registration is needed. Then you can go around and talk to different legislators about disability rights and disability issues. Second thing I wanted to mention is that Medicare change period is in effect from January to March, so if you need to make any changes, there's certain things that you can and cannot change, but the Aging and Disability Resource Center can help you with that. Third thing, but not the last, is the Calumet County Aging and Disability Resource Center with Suttner Accounting is offering tax help to senior citizens age 60 and over, as well as people who are below that age who have been laid off for a year or unemployed this past year with an income of $25,000 or less. So if you need tax help, contact Kathy Greschel up at the Disability Resource Center, and they'll be able to help you. The last thing I wanted to mention is that I am taking part in the NACO High Performance Leadership Program. It's a really cool program. The content is good, but where I really find value is connecting with other county leaders all across this nation. So in my cohort or group, and we talk twice weekly, I've got people from South Dakota, Tennessee, East Coast, some Wisconsin folks, and they break us up into small groups, and we talk about challenges facing our counties. And it's interesting because we're not that different from every other county out there, and but some of how we approach those challenges are. So it's just interesting, and I encourage any of you who want to go through this. I think it's worthwhile.
Thank you, Supervisor Carr. Supervisor Booty.
Thank you. This is more of an upcoming thing about a future meeting. The Committee on the Rules of Order will be meeting on Friday, March 6th. If you have any questions or things you'd like to see being proposed in the next Rules of Order for the next term, please feel free to contact me about that, and we will put that on our agenda to discuss and maybe take action on, so that at our organizational meeting in April, we have everything all buttoned up and presentable to the board. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Booty. All right, we have the county administrator's report and appointments. Were there any questions on his report? All right. We have the appointment to the Manitowoc Calumet County's Libraries. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Supervisor Stillman, you had a question, sorry.
Thank you, yeah. Todd, on the county sales tax collection, did we receive any money yet, or how does that work?
That's a Dan question.
Oh, sorry about that one. Okay.
That isn't in Todd's report and not an agenda item.
It is.
Is it? I just asked you that.
It's in Todd's report. So the question was, well, I'm not sure what the question was, whether or not we actually received that sales tax
have
money.
we?
Those are month-to-month collections, so we get paid monthly,
Oh, really?
and that's what's being reflected there is the total collection for the year.
Okay. Okay, I think some of our constituents asked me how that money is being spent and what, how,
That's a bigger question, but that's part of our budget process. The majority of that is spent for capital projects, so rather than going out and borrowing money to construct roads, we're using sales tax to construct roads.
Okay, I think that's what
the
we
majority of how that sales tax is being spent.
Okay, I guess that should satisfy some people, so.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
It wasn't in Todd's report, it was in Dan's report, just to clarify.
Okay, moving on now. We have that cleared. We have the appointment to the Manitowoc Calumet County Library System, and he is recommending the appointment of Sue Lizaway to fill the vacancy left by Mary Mullenbuck, who has been on that board since 1970s. So the new term will expire January 1st, 2023. I have a motion by Supervisor Booty and a second by Supervisor Steer to confirm that appointment. Are there any questions? Please vote your ballot. Supervisor Stecker, please confirm. Thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. It has received the majority vote, so that appointment has been approved. Reappointment of the county surveyor, recommending the reappointment of Brad Beekle, whose term will expire January 31st, 2020, and his new term will expire January 31st, 2022. All right, I have a motion by Supervisor Draheim and a second by Supervisor Schwallenberg to reaffirm that appointment. Any questions? Please vote your ballot. All right. Supervisor Shu, would you confirm, please? Thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. It has received the majority vote, so that appointment has been confirmed. Also, the appointment to the Chilton Library Board, recommending the appointment of Lori Leppin to fill the vacancy left by Mary Deppis. The new term will expire July 1st, 2021. I have a motion by Supervisor Steer, a second by Supervisor Schwallenberg. Any questions on that appointment? Please vote your ballot. Supervisor Gleckner, would you please confirm? And Supervisor Stillman and Supervisor Lochran. Supervisor Lochran, please confirm. Thank you. 19 yes, 0 nay, 2 absent. It has received the majority vote, so that appointment has been confirmed. Our next regular meeting date will be February 18th, 2020 at 8:30 a.m. in the morning, and I stand adjourned. Thank you for your attendance this morning.